Is there really anything left to say about Mega Man 2? Well, not really. This game has received immense praise over the decades since it was released. Thankfully, this channel serves to appreciate some of the less discussed elements of popular games. I will also be telling my own stories about the game which have never been expressed publicly on the internet. And I'll be talking a little less about the gameplay and the soundtrack than I did in the Mega Man 5 video. Again, we're going to be using digital scans of the box and manual for this episode. If anyone is wondering why I've been sticking strictly to the Mega Man games and using digital scans, I am in the process of moving right now and everything else I own is pretty much packed up. I just happen to also have the legacy collections on my PC and can easily record there while everything else is put away. So yes, the next few episodes are going to be centered around the Mega Man series, which seems to be fine because the Mega Man 5 video did really well and I'm super happy with it. Also, I am just having a blast talking about these games. I mean, this is my favorite series of all time, but I just wanted to let you guys know that this channel's not turning into exclusively any type of Mega Man only kind of channel or anything like that. We're just going to be going through this series right now and I'm just in the mood to make these kinds of videos, so bear with me for a bit here while I'm going through some stuff in life. We'll get back to other games once everything's settled down a little more for me. Also, I mentioned it earlier, but thank you so much for all the support from all the likes and comments and the views and just everything and all the new subscribers from the Mega Man 5 video. I mean, that video did way better than I thought I was going to do, and I've just really enjoyed reading what you guys have had to say. I've actually had a fun time reading YouTube comments, which is pretty rare, but these have all been great. So yeah, thank you very much for all that, and we're going to get into my personal experiences with Mega Man 2 now. My Mega Man journey actually begins with this game, not the first one or any of the X games or anything like that. I mentioned before that I knew how to use emulators as a kid. Well, we're going to get into that story a little more right now. So funny enough, my teacher was a younger guy and he grew up with the NES. He knew that I was getting into retro video games and that I loved the SNES and the NES. One day he gave me a disc with every NES game on it that I could play on the computer. It was just some burned CD with a bunch of files, a bunch of game files on them. And so I immediately had access to the entire NES library and could do cool things like save a state. I still never lost interest in owning the original games, and these days I almost never emulate. I honestly haven't done that in a really, really long time. The only kind of emulation that I do is, like I mentioned, the legacy collections for the Mega Man games on PC, which is like technically emulation, but it's not going on a ROM website that may or may not be sketchy and downloading ROMs individually. If I do not have the game, I don't play it. That's also what keeps me in the game of collecting. You know, it's, oh, I don't have this game. I could just go on a ROM site and download it, or I could, you know, save up money or try and find a deal and keep going with that. So it keeps me in the hobby in multiple ways to not emulate. So anyways, back to my childhood. I remember seeing that there were 6 whole Mega Man games on this disc, right? Just 6 different files that said all 6 Mega Mans. And that was way more than the typical series on the NES. There's a lot of trilogies on the NES, a couple, you know, doubles, and very rarely did a series hit 4 games. And you know, if they did, it was kind of rare. Like Bases Loaded comes to my mind, where the first 3 games were super common, and then they did make a 4th one, but it's not the easiest game to find by any means. Mega Man, on the other hand, had 6 whole titles. For whatever reason, I decided to start with the second one. Maybe I just had some kind of hunch. I had never even heard of this series before, but I picked the best one first, or what was, you know, what's kind of colloquially thought of as the best one. Immediately, I was impressed and a bit bewildered by the stage select. I was not used to picking a stage in an NES game. So I just went with the, quote, first one, which would be Bubble Man, because he is the first. If you were to read it down like a book, I just kind of thought, okay, he's in the top left, so he must be who you're supposed to start with. Which is a decent thought, and kind of funny enough, Bubble Man's not actually a terrible stage to start with. You can beat him pretty easily with the power cannon, but going to Heat Man, who he's strong against, going to Heat Man next is very difficult without item number 2. Despite the eye-straining background of the waterfall in the Bubble Man stage, which we're not going to show that too much in the video here, just show it a little bit just to make the point. Don't want to really show gameplay of the early parts of Bubble Man stage because it is really, really eye-straining. I knew I loved this game still, despite the horrible background. And I was also really young, so it probably didn't bother me as much. Mega Man would continue to impress me over the years and become my favorite game of all time. Although I had played this game to death on my emulator, I knew I needed to get the real thing. Towards the end of the school year in 2009, my neighborhood block had a large multi-family yard sale. I knew this was the perfect opportunity to sell some of my other stuff and save up money to get Mega Man 2. The game cost about $20 at this time for the cartridge only. I wasn't going for the box or manual or anything like that, I was young. I remember selling off a plethora of Wii games that I did not want for about $10. And I must say that I'm very glad that my copy of Wii Music was sold to fund my copy of Mega Man 2. Hopefully the mom that bought those Wii games off me had at least some fun with her kids. I do not remember anything about those shovelware Wii games, but I sure have had a ton of fun memories with Mega Man 2. So the bundle of Wii games went for about $10, and so I was halfway there. I do not remember what else I sold, likely some other knickknacks that I had received over time. Could I have gotten more for the stuff? Maybe, but all I cared about was that I came away from that yard sale with exactly $20. The only thing on my mind now was going and bothering my dad to order the game for me off eBay while I gave him the cash. And we did exactly that, and then the anticipation began. In between ordering it and getting it, I came down with a pretty bad sickness, and there was actually an outbreak of swine flu in my area over that time span. I don't know truly if what I had was the swine flu, but towards the very end of the school year that year, I missed a bunch of days because I got really sick. And eventually I did get better and was able to go back to school. So the first day that I felt good enough to go back to school, I believe was actually the last day of school, and I just kind of went just for the ceremony of it, you know. Hey, I was really sick, but I'm not going to miss my last day type of deal. I think we just had a half day, and I finished out the year. I was just so glad to be feeling better. When I got home that day, something very special was awaiting me in the mail. My copy of Mega Man 2. I was home early since it was a half day, and I had a whole summer break ahead of me. Remember my dad coming home with pizza and french fries and probably a hoagie or something, and we kicked off the summer right. I remember being in my room playing Mega Man 2, hearing the car door close, rushing downstairs to help bring in the food. Summer was here, and I knew what I was doing. Outside of that initial excitement, Mega Man 2 has always been a game that I came back to, and is always at the top of my list of favorite NES games. I often go back and forth between putting Mega Man 2 or Zelda 1 as my favorite for the console. It usually just depends on what one I played the most recently. Mega Man is my favorite series of all time, but it's hard for me to necessarily say that one specific game is my favorite game of all time, and that I would put like Mega Man 2 or Mega Man X above every other game. I don't know about that, but as a series, it's my favorite. So yeah, it's the entire existence of the franchise. However, I would describe Mega Man 2 as a timeless game, since it's one that I have consistently played nearly every year at least once. It's good. Just kidding, I will talk about the game a little, but so much has already been said about this game. I find it interesting that this game feels as good as it does, despite Mega Man lacking so many of the upgrades that he got later in the series. No slide, no charge Mega Buster, no rush, just Mega Man jumping and shooting and using items 1, 2, and 3. The game is obviously not designed for Mega Man to need a slide or to charge up, but that does not mean that those upgrades were bad or anything down the line. I think it was still necessary to add those features to Mega Man eventually, but this game did it so well even within the limitations. The Metal Blades are horribly unbalanced and overpowered or whatever, but that's what makes them so fun. I always start with Metal Man on this game, and I know a lot of people do, and even if I have to burn an E-Tank to beat him with the power cannon, I don't really care. Getting the Metal Blades right away allows me to absolutely tear through the rest of the game, and I just feel like a god going through the game with this ability. I understand why they had to consistently nerf this power-up, like with the Shadow Blades in Mega Man 3, but having an extremely busted ability like the Metal Blades just this one time is so satisfying, and you can only really find that here in Mega Man 2, and that's why I love so much about it. Is this game flawed? Absolutely. And the Crash Man stage is what reminds me that this game is flawed. You will not be seeing much footage from that stage, since I forgot to hit record until halfway through, and it was probably the most embarrassing performance of all time anyway. I played horribly when I was recording that stage. I find it funny that in games that we love, we tend to easily excuse frustrating things like this stage. Until I started doing this video, I was really not fully aware of how much I hated the Crashman stage. But then looking at it from a more critical point of view definitely led me to recognize some of the faults in this game. That being said, I absolutely love Mega Man 2, and it deserves a lot of the praise that it's gotten over the years. I know there was a lot of nostalgia goggles kind of in the old internet days for this game, but hey, maybe I'm just a part of that group as well. But I mean, this game is just awesome. I mentioned that Mega Man 5 was once criticized on the internet, but now there are a lot of videos defending it, like my own. The opposite seems to kind of be true for Mega Man 2. So people gushed over this game constantly, but now when you search for Mega Man 2, some of the top videos are opening up the door for a more critical eye and are questioning if it was perhaps a little overrated. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I still find it really fun, and I still do play it pretty much every single year, and it's one of those games that I revisit a lot. But is it perfect? Absolutely not. And, you know, as I said, the best example I can give you is how frustrating Crashman's stage is. Many improvements were made over the first game as well. The one that I welcome the most is being able to fall into spikes when you have invincibility after getting hit. That makes the game a little bit less frustrating than the first one. Also, of course, the standard of 8 Robot Masters instead of 6 was created in this game, although the best upgrade over Mega Man 1 is actually our entire next section. Yeah, again, I could just say it's good and move on. I mean, we all know the soundtrack for Mega Man 2 is incredible. I already joked in my Mega Man 5 review that the Wily Theme 1 was so popular and overused back in the day on the internet, but again, it's still an absolute classic, and it's like listening to there's a few 80s like pop songs that I listened to all the time when I was a little kid, and so I'm like, alright, I don't want to hear that, I listen to that a ton, but then you go like 5 years without hearing the song, and you're like, oh yeah, that song actually is really good, that's why I loved it so much. That's kind of how Wily Theme 1 is for me from Mega Man 2, where you heard it constantly, but it's still great. When I play the game to this point, I am always rushed with nostalgia upon seeing that dark blue background and hearing that theme crank up. It's so good, but I'm not only rushed with nostalgia for my own time playing the game, but also for all those YouTube videos that use the theme. I mean, it was used a ton, and it does bring me back to some of those earlier internet days as well. When I was recording gameplay, I actually just kept going past the first Wily stage to keep listening to the music. I don't necessarily play through the entire game to get, you know, just kind of footage of every stage, or at least at all 8 Robot Master stages for the videos, because I don't necessarily need to show the end of the game for these videos. I'm just kind of talking here, not necessarily delving into the inner workings of Wily's Stage 4, but this time I decided to keep going just because I was just enjoying the music so much. Most of the other tracks in this game are also super energetic and exciting to hear. It was like the game designers were telling you how happy they were to have made this game, and they needed something to get you on their level. They needed to bring you up to their level of excitement. Some of the most popular and memorable video game tracks of all time come from Mega Man 2, and it is certainly not a soundtrack to forget. It is time to take a look at the box and manual once again. So I had mentioned in the Mega Man 5 video, and also I have a video on Mega Man 1's manual, but it's just a full read through of a manual. It's not the kind of video essay style here that I've been doing now. That the earlier Mega Mans have just atrocious box art, and Mega Man 2, my goodness. I mean, this is nothing like the game. I get it that, you know, I guess that's supposed to be Crashman to the left, Mega Man in blue, and Quick Man to the right, but come on, it looks like a bunch of baseball mascots got loose. I mean, it's so bad. So, I mean, and we all know that, so it's not worth talking about too much, but I never really see too many people discuss the back of this box, which is something that I'm here to do. I actually wasn't sure if I was looking at the American or the European one when I started recording this, but I'm pretty certain I have the American box art here. So, again, I don't own this box. It's a digital scan found on GameFAQs, and the links for everything are going to be in the description, just like I did for Mega Man 5. So, Premier Worldwide Arcade Game Designer. Alright, Mega Man 2. So, real quick though, we have a little message on the left. Captain Commando here. Look to me for up-to-date reports on all the exciting action games from Capcom. Until next time. Yeah, they really ran with that for a while. Alright, here we go. As you see, we have the images here. The one image shows there are 8 Robot Masters, and those 8 Robot Masters look so much better. The artwork is so much better than the 6 on Mega Man 1. The stage select screen on Mega Man 1 looks terrible compared to this game's. It's such an improvement, and they were clearly proud of it. So, he's back, and this time the evil Dr. Wily, once the supreme power in the universe, has created even more sinister robots to mount his attack. But as Mega Man, you've also grown in power and ability. Can you save mankind from the evil desires of Dr. Wily? Each of the 8 empires is ruled by a different super robot. You must defeat each enemy on his own turf, building up weapons as you go. Only after all are destroyed will you go head-on with the mastermind himself, the evil Dr. Wily. But be alert, Mega Man. Dr. Wily has powers his creations did not. Civilization relies on your skill and courage, confident that you, Mega Man, will stand tall in the end. We do have a little blurb about the seal here. This official seal is your assurance that Nintendo has approved the quality of this product. Always look for the seal when buying games and accessories to ensure complete compatibility with your Nintendo Entertainment System, which we've read that plenty of times by now. So, that's the back of the front and the back of the box. The back's pretty awesome. The back of the box is actually pretty great. The front is just god-awful. But, so, looking at the manual here, we are still in black and white, which is the same as the first game, but for like the 5th one, they cranked it up and put it in color, which was awesome. But still black and white here, which is only okay. I was never impressed with the title page on this manual. It looks so boring. Again, somehow this game persevered through all this kind of lackluster artwork and really impressed a lot of people. We're going to go with a special message from Capcom. I am going to read this. And the purpose of why I read things like this on this channel is because these things illustrate that, like, buying games was such an event back then. And I do have some memories of that. Even though I'm younger than the NES era, I do have memories of, like, buying games for the Nintendo 64 and for the GameCube, and it just being such an event. And them including this dialogue here, a special message from Capcom, you know, it's way different than nowadays where you just go and buy it digitally and just download it and it's done. So, you know, it's a lot different, but I really do love these little blurbs here in the beginning. Thank you for selecting exciting and fun-filled Mega Man 2, one of our exclusive family of computer/home video games from Capcom's Captain Commando Challenge series. Mega Man 2, created by Capcom, premier worldwide arcade game designer, which says on the back of the box, features colorful state-of-the-art high-resolution graphics, licensed by Nintendo for play on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And there we have a blurb about the seal again, which I will spare you. We don't need to read anything about getting started or anything like that, or how to play the game, you know, jump and shoot, right? So I will note that the 1-up and the life increase and the weapon increase, it looks like here that they just brought over the same stuff from Mega Man 1's manual, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because they did actually change the way that these icons look. So the life increase it's more the circular one that we're used to seeing, but in Mega Man 1 these look different, but these are the same images from the Mega Man 1 manual, which, as I mentioned, I did read on this channel in full before, and I do own that one. And they definitely just brought this art over, and that 1-up is so goofy. Mega Man's all cross-eyed. Special items here, which is cool. We do have the 3 items, which are the precursor to Rush. Like I said, Mega Man's just jumping and shooting using items 1, 2, and 3. In addition to the weapons, there are 3 special transportation items. These are item. Acquired when Heat Man is defeated. This is a levitation platform. Up to 3 may be launched at a time. Item 2. Acquired when Airman is defeated. This is a jet sled. Use it to fly over difficult areas. And item 3. Acquired when Flashman is defeated. This is an elevator and may only be used against a wall. This item is capable of traveling higher than the levitation platform. Item 3 is pretty innovative. Again, on the password screen here we see Mega Man. I believe is again another recycled image from the first one. This game did in fact include passwords. That's another upgrade that I didn't mention earlier. Yes, the first game you have to beat it in one shot. This game, you got 8 stages and 4 Wily stages, or 5. So, you're going to need a password, and that held to be a staple in the Mega Man games for a long time, basically until we got those memory cards on PS1. Alright, the funniest segment here, which I think I will take on reading in full, is how to beat Airman, because he was just so hard. And yes, If you're watching this, you probably know that there is a song written by a Japanese guy that is about how he could not beat Airman because Airman is just so hard. If you also didn't know, this game has 2 difficulty settings in America, and they gave the easy mode for us less skilled Americans at the game. But yeah, and I guess that word got out that Airman was so ridiculously hard, and so they felt the need to write us 4 pages. 4 whole pages on how to beat Airman. Airman lives in his domain in the clouds. Fortunately, Dr. Light has found information about his domain. Here is a step-by-step guide beginning just after you select the Airman level, because you're going to need help right away. Push the start button to pause at the end of each section. Wow, so this is like reading game facts before reading game facts was a thing. Remember, you must push start again to return to the game. Awesome. Step 1. Walk right to the edge of the platform. When you reach the edge, the first air tiki will appear. It will immediately start raising its horns. Jump onto it as soon as it starts to lower its horns. Run across and jump to the platform on the other side. Do not remain on its head if you can help it. As soon as you land on the platform on the other side, turn around and shoot the lump that pops up. If you do not hit him immediately, jump and shoot at him until you hit him. See, jump and shoot. Then turn and wait for the horns to go down on the next air tiki and repeat the process. Do this for all 5. Alright, so go ahead and do that and pause the game. Alright. A lightning lord will fly on the screen to your right. Jump up and shoot him until he explodes. Then jump onto his thunder chariot. Turn to your right and shoot at the next lightning lord as he comes onto the screen and jumps his chariot. Ride through the cloud, and as you drift up into range, carefully jump up and shoot at the next lord as quickly as possible. Jump to his chariot as fast as you can. Turn to the left and shoot the next lord as you come up alongside. Then simply step off the left side of your chariot and you will land on his. Face right to shoot the final lord when he comes up alongside, and jump to his chariot. When this chariot gets close to the next edge, you can easily jump onto it. Run along the platform until you see a flying fish drop an egg. When the egg hits the ground, it will explode and the feathers will hurt you. To avoid this, you should stop and shoot at the egg as it's falling. The flying fish are evenly spaced, and some are not visible because they are behind clouds. You'll have to learn how far apart they are so that you know when to stop running and start shooting. When you reach the right edge of the platform, walk into the cloud and off the side, and you will fall down to the lower level. Walk right to the edge of the platform and another air tiki will appear. When its horns start to go down, jump onto it and walk to the right edge, and back to the center. Walking to the right edge will summon the next air tiki. You must wait, however, for the horns on both demons to go down before jumping onto the next one. Wait at the center of the second one for the horns to go down again and jump to the edge. Remember, if you get hit, you are invulnerable, so move quickly. Yeah, taking a hit against these parts is just so necessary. Just take a hit and run. Jump from platform to platform until you get close to the first fan fiend. The fan fiends will try and blow you away from them. Just jump up to the right or shoot away while he blows you back left. After you defeat him, move on to the next one. Be careful, there are more flying fish out there. If you are jumping between platforms and get hit, you may fall into the abyss. Once past all 3 fan fiends, you will reach a gate. Walk through this gate, and you will enter a room with another gate on the far end. Beyond this gate dwells Airman. Airman throws small tornadoes, which deflect your shots and damage you. Run up close to the nearest tornado and try to jump over it. When there is nothing between you and Airman, he is very vulnerable to your shots. Shoot as quickly as you can before he has a chance to throw more tornadoes. He will usually use 2, 3, or 4 sets of tornadoes before a proficient player defeats him. Good luck. So it looks like 4 bled on to page 13 weirdly, because I guess we skipped a little bit here. So 4 is actually jump left onto the 2 upper platforms, then walk into the cloud on the lower left, and you will fall down to the next screen. So yeah, 4 just kind of bled on to page 13 here. Now, I don't know what the deal is with this. Again, I'm looking at a digital scan of a manual, and I don't own this physically, but I feel like I have to get it now and see if every copy of this manual is like this. This is so weird. Anyways, weapons. Sure, weapons, I guess. More like robot masters, but I see what they were getting at. So Woodman, Clashman, Quickman, Heatman, Metalman, Airman, Flashman, and Bubbleman, and they give you, the atomic fire, the air shooter. It tells you all the symbols here then on the next page, what they all are. That Woodman, the W is the leaf shield, which I always forget when I'm playing the game that it's W for Woodman, but it should just be like a L for leaf shield, but anyway. And then we have the enemy characters. The Bubble Bat, the Atomic Chicken, unforgettable, Hot Dog, the Snapper, the Lanternfish, the Air Tiki, the Gremlin, the Crabot, the Robo Rabbit, the Hothead, the Lightning Lords, and the Mecha Monkey. So that's the manual in the box. A bit of a long section there. Quite the read. With that how to beat airman section and some of the spacing errors there, but overall it's not too long of a manual. It's 17 pages. Oh, there's more enemies here. The Fan Fiend, the Croaker, the Prop Top, the Crazy Cannon, the Dragon, and the Guts Dozer. Yeah, those are awesome, those bosses there. So, anyways, it's a bit of a shorter manual. Nothing too bad like the Zeldas or the Tecmo Super Bowls or anything, but yeah, a bit of a strange one still. The first Mega Man manual was super duper weird, and the second one's still pretty weird. You can feel that they're starting to figure it out. I mean, compare this to what we just read in Mega Man 5, and the difference is pretty striking. Overall, I cannot sing the praises enough for this game. It has legitimately provided me with some of my best childhood memories, and was my introduction to my favorite series. Despite the box art and the manual still being pretty bad, this game managed to end up in a lot of kids' homes back in the day. And thank goodness for that. So I hope that you enjoyed hearing my personal stories with this game and delving into some of the gameplay elements in the soundtrack a little bit. So with that, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.